Oh, okay.
And that's like some small stuff you wouldn't really...
You don't really need, but it kind of adds to it.
Yeah, you would overlook it, but like after you've seen the extended edition, you can't watch it without it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it misses something.
I asked for a lock of her golden hair.
She gave me 3.
I love Gimli.
Yeah, Gimli.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. Honestly, Gimli is my favorite character.
Gimli's the best.
Gimli is my spirit animal.
Gimli is
Where's my hat?
really...
It's in my car. Shit.
Gimli is really, really good. And I love Gimli. And I feel like it's cliche to say, but Aragorn is my favorite character.
Mm-hmm.
Is like...
that is understandable. Because he is Aragorn.
He's the quintessential heroic figure.
Yeah. He is the one that they needed in this movie. And Viggo Mortensen came into filming, never read the book, didn't know anything, and he was like such a method actor that he wanted to become this ranger type of person. Yeah. So he carried the sword everywhere with him and treated it like he was actually a ranger and a traveling man, and this sword was his life.
Yeah.
There was, in the special editions, like there was a time to where they went to a like fast food joint in New Zealand whenever they were taking like a bit of a break from filming because they'd been going at it, and Viggo still had his sword at his side.
Yeah.
And whenever they sat down in the booth, he took it off and set it down between, like, at the end of the table, sitting in the booth. And everyone would give him these really weird looks, like, why does this guy have a sword in this burger joint? Am I gonna die? So he, like, they could have chosen a bunch of other people, but they wanted this guy, but he had no idea about this world. So he had to work in order to, like, get this role. And he did it.
He put the work in hard because he plays the hell out of this character.
Mm-hmm.
And it is
fantastic.
Like, his performance, like, there is not a lot of, like, performance-based stuff in this movie. Like, it's really about the world building and like where we are, but like the one performance that really stands out is his Gandalf's and Frodo to an extent. Frodo a little bit,
yeah, to an extent.
Ian McKellen, I kind of expect that from him.
Yeah, but even though we expect it, we still... Oh, Saruman. I mean, there's another man who we expect a good performance from, but even when we expect it and we see it, we still love it.
Well, it's
still great to watch.
Here's the effect, though. Okay, and I'm gonna pull off topic here for a little bit, not entirely, but a little bit. When you expect the performance from somebody, it kind of detracts a little bit from how impressive it is, you know? Because, yes, these are impressive performances. They are really impressive performances. But, like, it's kind of the same effect we had, that I had and, like, the Academy had with The Departed. Because, like, Mark Wahlberg got an Oscar nomination for that movie. Jack Nicholson did not. And Jack Nicholson was just as impressive. But we expect that from Jack Nicholson. And it kind of detracts from how great it was, because you kind of expect a certain level of greatness from Jack Nicholson. So it just kind of feels like making par.
But also keep in mind when this movie came out. Because when this movie came out, did anyone know who Ian McKellen was besides Magneto in America?
True.
So, like, we saw Magneto and we're like, cool. that was cool. I have no idea who that guy is. He was awesome.
Yeah.
And then we're like, he's playing some wizard dude?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's kind of the same role, isn't it? No! And you are immediately shot down with Ian McKellen's awesome performance. Yeah. Christopher Lee's doing his thing, but his beautiful man voice.
Yeah. He does have a beautiful man voice.
But he's not too much in this one, but when he is, it is an amazing, powerful scene.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else can we talk about the Fellowship? Because we're 20 minutes in, and we've got 5 more movies.
I don't know. The world that it establishes is really kind of interesting because with a lot of fantasy, like you sort of get a world that is kind of centered around people. Mm-hmm. Like it's centered around humans.
Yeah.
This movie almost religiously does not. Mm-hmm. Like there are 2 key human players throughout like most of the first like
trilogy.
3 acts of this series. Mm-hmm. Like the first time you see another major human player is halfway through 2 Towers. Mm-hmm. And that's not huge, and like the human presence doesn't really become really well known until Return of the King. Mm-hmm. And that's very risky, I feel like.
Because it's something like... It's something out of our box, like our comfort box.
Yeah, and it's really good because like they took a risk and they were confident with it. Like the way Tolkien wrote, because like I've read a little bit of it. Mm-hmm. The way he wrote, like he writes it like, oh, you don't know what this is? Well, let me tell you about it.
Yeah.
Not like he didn't write it like he didn't really write it like it was something new, but at the same time he didn't write it like you were supposed to know about it.
Yeah.
Like he wrote in the world, but at the same time wrote as if you were somebody from outside it.
Yeah.
Which is very difficult to balance. And especially
and a lot of people like English professors, whenever he was writing this book, they criticized the shit out of him because this was unorthodox. It didn't make any sense to the English professors, and they didn't like it. C.S. Lewis was one of those people. He was also one of Tolkien's best friends.
Pretty crazy though, because like,
look who's laughing now.
Well, it's really crazy because like you're writing a story that is centered around hobbits. Mm-hmm. And starting out, what the fuck is a hobbit? What in the fuck is a hobbit? But it tells you, and it doesn't...
you read The Hobbit.
It tells you, and it doesn't condescend you. Mm-hmm. Like, it just tells you matter-of-factly and says, this is what they are, this is what they do, and this is where they are.
It's sort of like how we are. Like, we'll talk about something, and then, like, well, maybe not everybody knows about this. Let me tell you about it here real quick, and then we'll get back on topic with this new thing.
Yeah. Which,
I guess that is kind of how I was basically raised, because Tolkien is love, Tolkien is life.
Well, it's kind of crazy, because, like, this is like the one of the books that kind of invented nerd culture.
Yes.
And like nerd culture now is kind of like a lonely circle jerk kind of mentality. And that's just not where our roots are. Mm-hmm. Like, our roots are, oh, you don't know about this, let me tell you about it.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean, it's like that because people didn't want to know about it.
Yeah.
Even though we wanted to tell them about it, because the nerd culture as Tolkien does it, is very culty, and that scared people,
Yeah.
and thus the 80s happened.
Yeah. But, like, it's...
The D&D witch hunt began.
Yeah. I don't know, it's...
But, like, this book and The Hobbit basically started modern fantasy as it is.
Yeah.
And it's evolved, but not too much.
Yeah.
Like, the most that it has really evolved is, like, modern fantasy. Like, the Dresden Files and the Alchemist books, which are very Dresden Files-ish.
Mm.
To where, like, they're fantasy, but they're set in the modern setting. So it's... For me, it's kind of disorienting, because... I'm a classical fantasy guy.
Yeah.
So, but like that's, like we're still, this book has continued to shape how the world is.
Yeah.
Like, and these movies shaped how movies are made. Like, basically, Lord of the Rings was the 2000s Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because, like, Star Wars changed how movies were made for like the next 30 years. When did Rocky 1 come out? Because I think that one like changed how sports movies were made.
1975.
Okay, so it came before.
Yeah.
But like after 77, movies changed how they were made drastically.
Yeah.
And like after 2000 and 2001, because The Matrix came out, and that changed how like action movies were made. 2001, Lord of the Rings happened, and 2002 and 2003. Like, then movies altogether changed, and it was a very, it created a very different era, because the era we had before was the Dark Age, and
Yeah.
the Lord of the Rings movies was the Renaissance, basically. 2001 to 2003 turned out to be pretty goddamn good years for movies.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, like, 2003, Return of the King won all of them.
All of them. I think that movie has 11 Oscars.
And, like, 15 nominations.
Yeah. Like,
So that ratio was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But, we'll get to that in a minute. Well, probably. So, it changed how everything is done, and it's why people still look at these movies and still watch them.
Yeah.
Because there are old movies that we can watch and go, I don't know how I feel about that now.
Yeah.
Like as they age, some of them age better than others, some of them don't.
Yeah.
Like wines. This one, like even today, it still looks good because Weta are the masters of CG.
Yeah.
And they mastered CG early, which also changed how movies are made.
Yeah. Which is a kind of a bittersweet revolution, but
yeah, but they also like they also made it to where big giant army battles could be a thing.
Yeah.
Without having to get thousands of people, put
Yeah.
them all in armor, and go.
yeah.
They could do that with like a fraction of them. Still have a lot of the practical effects, because Weta is also a master at that. And they could do that, film those, and then have what they did was basically make AI, and they basically made Total War games before Total War.
Yeah.
Think about that for a minute. The movie was almost a video game, and then they made video games from that movie
Yeah.
that weren't even those, and then other ones that weren't even Lord of the Rings, and they became their own franchises.
Yeah.
So these movies meant a lot, and they still mean a lot.
It's crazy.